Hey, good morning, guys. My name is Nikoleta. I'm an alcoholic. I am your opening act. I'm grateful to be here. Thank you, Julie, for putting this together and expressing the gratitude. You know, it's just like I get in touch with, like my heart like gets touched. Like I can hear her when she speaks, and these are the blessings of Alcoholics Anonymous, really, that I can hear with something else besides my mind. And, I'm tasked with speaking on step one. There goes my boyfriend. Well, that just threw me off. This is uncomfortable for me, but, I want to honor the experience I had. My sober date is September 15, 2006, not a date of my choosing. I really hope that I translate. The message I really want to translate is this experience of powerlessness. That's I want to tell you how much trouble you're in. I want to scare you, and I want to tell you that this is not good news. The others are going to clean that up, and share with you about the solution that's available and possible. And Alcoholics Anonymous, that's pregnant with possibility. But I really hope to transmit this experience of powerlessness which I've had, which was so crucial and was a foundational baseline for my recovery. That was the first step in recovery. And for me to speak on step one is really, it's a reflective step, and it's really important to go back into the emotional memory of my drinking. And, the drink is far from me at this point, I think 18 plus years. It's a nice amount of time that I've been away from the drink. I can still get in touch with the emotional memory of the pain and suffering, of trying to control and manage my drinking and using my mind to do it. But for those of you who've been far away from the drink, or maybe have other substances of no choice that play a part in your life, I think it's really, really important to get in touch with that powerlessness. Really, really important. And one of the main ones is to get in touch with the powerlessness over the mind, over my thoughts. Because I really, really, really thought that I'm in charge of my life. I really thought I was in charge of my life. And a lot of things in my life, and we talk about them being old ideas, indicated to me that when I succeeded in various things in my life, that I needed to take credit for that. Look at what I've done, pat on the back, like, look what I can do. And when things didn't go well, you were to blame, of course, obviously. I was in argument with life and argument with people that crossed my path, and there was someone to blame, which is a major part of the ego. I never really questioned my mind. But, I'll tell you, I'm from Belgrade, Serbia. I have memories of my father drinking. It caused chaos. He was like a tornado roaring through the lives of the family. Mom was definitely, should have been in Al-Anon, but was showing all the symptoms of powerlessness over my father and his drinking and gambling. I watched this and I got really curious about booze, because it seemed so important to Dad, and it seemed to have been a primary relationship in his life, and it seemed that me as his daughter and my sister, his children, were secondary in many ways. And I just I had an effect, watching him have an effect produced by alcohol. And there were these memories that came up in my recovery where when Mom was not controlling his drinking or trying to control his drinking, he was loose, he was fun, he would play with me, he would spend some time with me. There was patience and tolerance, he was cool, he was comfortable. And when the control was present, or trying to manage or, do the right thing, quote unquote, he was tense. He was tight, he was cranky, he was short, he was impatient, and, that left an impression on me. I got really, really curious, and I was warned about alcoholism at a young age. My grandmother, my father's mother, died with a bottle in her hand. She was only 50. you know, and of course my whole life my mother's like, you're just like her, you're just like her, and you know, you're like, okay. And but you know, the way I translated that, I'm just like her. She was the highest ranking military officer in Yugoslavian army. You know, generals would come visit her, and she held top secrets for the military. So I was like, she's a badass, you know, like, yeah, I'm gonna be a badass, you know. And you know, long story short, I end up in New York City when I was 14 years old, and we go through some struggles for a couple of years, me and my family, which can fit in a, you know, Volkswagen Beetle. It can actually fit in a coupe. That's how small my family is, my mother and my sister. And these experiences really make me feel that I can get through anything. And I can use my mind to get through. If I just applied myself hard enough, I can get through poverty, hunger, you know, economic insecurity, financial insecurity, all of that stuff that we were experiencing as illegal immigrants. And I don't want to get into the story too much, but in those 2 years I've experienced homelessness and hunger and squatting in abandoned buildings and, you know, you know, looking for pennies on the street to buy a loaf of bread. I have not touched a drink. The reason I'm sharing this with you, not only did it create a certain idea of what life is about and what my role in life is and what I can do, but man, did I need a drink at 16. Man, did I need some relief. I was wound tight. I was wound up so tight because by that time, 16 years old, and for as long as I could remember, my relationship with life was not safe. My relationship with others was that I didn't trust life and I didn't trust them, and I was always in the next moment. There was always an underlying, the undercurrent was that it was dangerous. And I needed to protect myself or do something to make life happen. And the book talks masterly about step one. It spends over 50 pages on just saying, on telling us about step one over and over and over again, using different words and metaphors to share with us how important it is that I know what I'm suffering from, because alcoholism is in me. And what happened is that at 16, I was working in a restaurant. I was curious about booze. At that point, I started living alone and supporting myself. I didn't have to pretend anymore in front of mom and sister and people, like I was on my own, which created a sort of a freedom to explore and do whatever I want. I got my hands on a bottle of gin. I do remember it was a bottle of gin. And off the bat, my relationship with alcohol was not normal. Off the bat, because this 16-year-old girl brought that bottle home to drink home alone. And you know, I remember when I discovered the way alcohol made me feel, how it did something for me. I remember the exhale. I remember this warmth and this comfort in my own skin. And the book talks about, you know, alcoholics essentially drink because they like the effect produced by alcohol. What is the effect produced by alcohol that I had an experience with? This is the emotional memory I also need to go back into. Because the truth is, it did something for me. It doesn't do that for others. Normal people, when they drink alcohol, it's poison. The body knows it's poison. The body knows it's poison. The body's like at some point says, stop. You know, you're not feeling well. You're nauseous. Maybe you're sleepy. You're like kind of like, you don't want to do this anymore. And they don't consider picking up a drink again. And that's just not my experience. I fell in love with booze. It was love at first gulp. You know, I don't remember the rest of that night. And my love affair with alcohol started there. You know, I didn't know that, that progressively things are going to get worse, which the book talks about. And I think that's a description of any alcoholic's journey with step one, because step one, again, is a reflective step. The book only gives the words to the experience I've already had. I need to go into the experience I already had. What is my relationship to alcohol? And, fast forward 11 years. Fast forward 11 years, right? The booze became a primary relationship in my life. Everything became secondary. I've had multitude of experiences where, I just remember these times where I would just be so confused. This element of like cunning, baffling, and powerful started to be like present at all times in my experience with alcohol, because I would like really, really want to drink just like for a happy hour with the coworkers, and I would always overshoot the mark. And I didn't understand why I would always overshoot the mark, And the book even talks about what about the real alcoholic? They become dangerously antisocial, which was the end of my drinking. But for many years, it looked like, waking up in the morning with a person that I'm just going to meet for the first time. Like, who are you? Oh, yeah, you were the delivery guy. Okay. But the war stories are not so important, but I think that all of this created this flavor of like powerlessness, right? All of this, powerless is no power. We tend to translate that as some power sometimes. This is a trap. This is a trap because it keeps giving me permission to try to do something about it. I need to have an experience of utter hopelessness, utter powerlessness, that there's absolutely no moves for me to do anymore in this relationship with booze. And so, years went on and it looked like this. Here are some of the stories. I ended up in a therapist's office, and I would talk to him about my life, blaming my childhood and the people in my life and what things should have or shouldn't have happened. And then I would proceed and I would lie to him while paying him, of course, and then paying him top dollar too, because I'm so fancy and successful. And then I would proceed to his bathroom where I would take out a flask out of my bag or coat. I would drink because I just can't sit in my own skin. I'm so uncomfortable. The chatter and the mental noise is on me all the time. The book talks about self manifested in various ways is what defeats me. It talks about the problem centers in the mind. This is really my perception and the way I see life and the way I see my relationship with alcohol that needs to be, it's up for review. It's up for inquiry. It's up for questioning. Then I would go back on the couch and proceed to continue to lie to him. He would sneak in some kind of a book on alcoholism for me to read as homework till next time we meet. Because I'm such a good student, and, I would leave his office, walk into a bar, nearest bar, sit on the stool, because I don't understand the phenomenon of craving, and the allergy has kicked in because I already started drinking, so I need some more. It's intensifying and it's asking for more. I didn't understand that. And I would proceed to try to read a book about alcoholism. And then I would not remember the rest of the night. And that's just one of hundreds of experiences I had, especially in the last few years of my drinking. I would distract myself in earlier years of drinking with some goals and visions and travels and being working full time and being in college full time, but I didn't know myself. I was in college 6 years full time, and I changed my major like 4 times. Like, I had no sense of meaning and purpose or goal or direction. I wasn't connected to my innermost being. I was not connected to the depth of myself. Like, life was just overwhelming. And I never questioned my mind or my perception of life or questioned myself in any of those moments. And that I would get so wound up tight and I would need relief. And my mind would convince me and give me permission to take that thing which I've experienced doing something for me, which I couldn't do for myself. Alcohol was my solution. Alcohol was my medicine. Alcohol medicated the alcoholism that was in me, and that was progressively getting worse. That was making me feel disconnected from life and from my fellows. That was where I was disconnected from, literally from the neck down. You know, I just lived in the narrative of my mind, and it was not pretty. It really was not pretty. And how would I not want relief? And I didn't understand this element of like, well, first of all, the phenomenon of craving. I have an abnormal reaction to alcohol, right? I process alcohol in the body different than anybody else. This is what makes me an alcoholic. And any story that doesn't take into consideration the physical aspect is incomplete. The book talks about it. It's incomplete. What happens when you drink? Most of the time. Most of the time. That's what it means. Abundantly, it will confirm this. And when I didn't have as much time to drink and I was distracted by other things, whether I was addicted to other people's stories by reading books and watching movies, that would shut the mind off, or by some relationships, or by trying to achieve certain things. At some point, there was this line that was crossed that I couldn't stop drinking. Oh my God, we're so heartbreaking. Guys, we're so heartbreaking. Just go back into that. Go back into the pain and suffering of what it was like. Talk to me about the last 6 months of your drinking. Talk to me about the last year of your drinking. Talk to me about the last 3 months of your drinking. Talk to me about the last 3 weeks of it. Go into that, because that's when we need to connect with. I am unable to tell the truth. I can't see the truth from the false, right? I have a mind that's just constantly convincing me otherwise. It wants to like survive. Alcoholism wants to survive. It centers in my mind. And, and this mental obsession element, like I see how alcoholism is so confusing, because we think that when the word obsession was first used to me, I was like, drink, 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 drink. But that's not necessarily what it's talking about, right? What it's talking about is this, like, I know that this may be a problem, but I can still do something about it. Or this time it will be different. Or me changing my own mind. So the whole step one experience is really about control. The whole thing is about control. Like I have a mind that will not admit that it's not in control because it's so insecure, right? It's so afraid. And how that translated is, like I remember when I first came into recovery and my sponsor qualified me in no time. And I just remember also like calling my mom and my sister as homework and saying, hey, what happens when you drink? And the response was like, I cannot relate to this. Like their response to what happens bodily and mentally for them when they drink was the opposite of what happens for me when I drink. My world opens up when I drink. Anything is possible when I drink. All is well when I drink. I am okay when I drink. This is the experience I have. It's exhilarating. I get exhilarated. I am ready to own the town. I am the mayor of New York City when I drink. I am the one that drinks in order to go out to drink and never makes it out to drink. You know what I mean? I'm the one. All right, some real alcoholics in the audience here. Now we're getting somewhere. You know what I mean? And the mind would be there saying, just take the edge off, just relax, you deserve it, you deserve it, And then 3 in the morning, I'm on the floor peeing my pants, and I feel shame and regret and embarrassment, or I'm getting thrown out of the local bar, because I'm like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. The person that walked into the bar is not the person that's in the bar, let me tell you. It's just not. It's not the person that's getting thrown out of the bar. And the truth is, there's years of my drinking that are just a fog. That's the truth. It's just a fog. I can't put the timeline together. I can't put the pieces together. But in January of 2005, I graduated college. And I used to go to school every night. Towards the end, I was drinking at school. I was bringing booze into school. January of 2025, that happens, and beginning of 2026, I get a warning letter from my boss that, you can't come to work drunk at 11 o'clock in the morning. stuff like you can't be drinking at your job. You can't be sending the messengers out to get you airplane bottles. There should be delivering, expensive rugs to architects and designers. So it's not appropriate, and I'm so consumed by self. I'm consumed by self. And 2006, 2005 and 2000 were just horrific. I came to this place where I was drowning in the bottle. I became a daily drinker. Couple of months prior to the end of my drinking, I was, I look back now, I think they were alcoholic seizures. Alcohol poisoning was like a norm. That was like a morning routine, throwing up bile and all of that. And what does that do for me in terms of how I feel? All of these feelings of shame, regret, and confusion continue to show up, and the doctor's opinion is, in masterly detail, explains the problem, including the cycle of alcoholism. Like, I can't see it's injurious, and I can't see the true from the false, and I'm restless, irritable, and discontent. The best description of a spiritual malady, like, I'm uncomfortable in my own skin. I'm annoyed. I'm easily annoyed. I'm not really satisfied. There's like this internal climate in me is like just never satisfied, like always looking for more or something different, wanting to be somewhere else or wanting to be someone else. Like always in this, like, anxiety is constantly present. The anxiety is constantly present. At that point, I have absolutely no relationship. Everything is shut off. I'm getting evicted. I'm unemployed. I'm unemployable. I'm blaming my family. I don't want their help. I tell them to leave me alone. I have many memories I don't have, but I have a memory of standing in the middle of an avenue in New York City looking like a bum and going to my sister before my phone got shut off. You're not my sister, leave me alone. I just wanted to be left alone. You see, the thing is, like, I always knew my relationship with booze was not normal. And I want, in recovery, we need to get in touch with that place in our innermost being. There was a knowing always, right? The truth was always present, but the mind would override it. The mind would override it all the time. And so yeah, the book talks about, it is the obsession of every abnormal drinker or alcoholic to control and enjoy their drinking, and this obsession has to be smashed, that we're like other people, right? And we watch other people drink with impunity, meaning no harm, right? But I need to really look at my experience, right? And my experience was so in my face, right? And I think it was so beautiful, all the consequences that were happening. The consequences were so overwhelming that everything that stood in the way of me seeing this truth, that there's absolutely nothing I can do about drinking. That I cannot think my way out of this. I cannot think my way out of this. I relied on my mind to come up with a way for me to control and enjoy my drinking and my thinking and my life. And I couldn't think my way out of this. And that was so good that it just stopped me in my, I enjoyed that, Somebody told me, I can't wait to hear you speak. I'm like, me too. I have a great step one talk in my head, never comes out. My intent never comes out. Like, it was so perfect too, like the body and the mind and the spirit, and I'm going to quote the book and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm another bozo on the bus. Like, I'm here because I drank to death. I don't drink like normal people. My experience with alcohol is different. And I was so confused by it. And it was so heartbreaking. And we are heartbreaking when we're in our cups, because I lost relationships, I lost friends, I lost the respect of my family, I lost the standing at my job, I lost my place, and I just couldn't see it. I wouldn't see it. Something in me would not admit this one simple fact that there's absolutely nothing I can do about this. Think about that. And on September 14, 2006, under the influence of alcohol, having had some experiences of this sensing that there's nothing I can do about this, sensing that there's nothing I can do about this, but just not being able to admit it. And why? Why do we not admit it? Because the thought of not drinking is too inconceivable. So I'll keep trying. There's got to be a way. Because the thought of not having that in my life, because of what it does for me, is too inconceivable. I can't comprehend a life without it. I want that not to be true, and I will do anything in my power, limited power, to try to prove that to myself. And September 14, 2006, under the influence of alcohol, my final solution to my alcoholic problem was to end my life. So this is the best thinking of my mind. This is the best that I can come up with. Very limited solution, very small solution. I heard somebody say one time, you would have killed the wrong person. Because the person that's getting killed is this constant chatter, the constant mental noise that's constantly on me, that's constantly seeking relief. I pick up the bottle, I think I can control it. I lose the rest of the night. I come to, whether it's bile or I pick up a bottle with the cigarette butts in it, and there's something in me that sees this is dirty, this is not normal. I'm experiencing shame and regret and remorse and disconnect, which calls for more relief. So I think I can clean up my act. I think that's something I can do about it. Maybe I succeed for a few hours, only to pick up the bottle again, thinking that this time will be different. This is the cycle of alcoholism. It goes on and on and on. We repeat the experiment over and over and over again. And I was so broken. I came to a place where even the booze kind of stopped working, right? Because the pain and the consequences of my drinking were so on me. I couldn't deny them anymore. I came to that place, the jumping off place, where I couldn't drink and I could not drink. And it's such a conflicting place to be in because I don't know which way to move. I felt cornered. And step one experience is an experience of deflation. It weakens the personal will. That's what it's intended to do. It's intended to break me open. It's intended to create a willingness for radical stuff that we do in Alcoholics Anonymous, right? To not rely on any human power to fix this thing, including my own, and to see that absolutely the solution does not reside in my mind. It just does not. But I need to get in touch with the powerlessness first. And he talks about this is the first step in recovery. It's this, we do not proceed further. And it says, there are pages in the book that are like, if you're not convinced, go over to the nearest bar room and try some controlled drinking. Just the thought of that makes me cringe. If you're a real alcoholic, just the thought of that will make you cringe, right? Because when I am enjoying my drinking, it's flowing. It's just, there's no breaks. There's just the beginning is enjoyable, and then I overshoot the mark because I don't understand the phenomenon of craving, which intensifies and calls for more drinking, and then I'm a sloppy mess that's embarrassed and ashamed, and then the next day I'm going to try better, but I just want to take the edge off and look like a lady, and all the dates that I lost were because of them, not because I was a sloppy mess, and all the friends that started to get distancing themselves from me, or because they're not meant to be my friends anymore. There was just a lot of negative view of life. I was in argument with life a lot. My relationship with life was just completely disconnected. And alcohol was my medicine. Alcohol is my solution. Alcohol is solution for the alcoholism. It's for the alcoholic, right? It medicates the ism that I suffer from, which is this absolute disconnect, this disease of perception, right? The self that's on me, that's narrating my whole life, and it's never in the present moment, and it never tells the truth, right? And so I had a deep and profound experience of step one. There were a lot of, things, seeds that were planted up until that point. On September 14, 2006, this girl was going to end her life 100%. I had intent. I had a plan, and I had half the means, but I meant business, and that was it. That was the conclusion of my experience of powerlessness. This is how I concluded step one experience, and I so relate because Bill is a great example of the problem, especially as it pertains to the mental obsession piece, right? He says, no words can tell, because it's not intellectual. That's why I need to get in touch with my body. I need to get in touch with the experience of powerlessness. No words can tell of the loneliness and despair I found in the bitter morass of self-pity. I relate to that. I lived there. I lived in pitiful, incomprehensible demoralization. That was a state of being. That was like bottoms would fall, and I would be like, I would make it normal. I'd make the bottom normal. I'd blame somebody else for where my bottom is, but I would normalize it. I can do this. I'll figure it out, It's not normal. It's not normal to live on the floor of your apartment using a stainless steel table as an ashtray. That's not normal. That's not normal to drink when you come to in the morning, liquor with cigarette butts in it. It's not normal to have alcoholic seizures at 27 years old. That's not normal. That's not normal. But I've normalized it. And that girl that wanted to end her life, time stopped. And prior to that, what happened was that there was a couple of things that were uttered by me, inside of me. I can't do this anymore. I need help. And I can't stop drinking. And I can't stop drinking was like a final sentence. It was like, I can't stop drinking, period. Not, I can't stop drinking, but I'm going to do this and that. There's someone to blame. I'm going to try this tomorrow. I'll figure it out. There was no reservation, no lurking notion, no plan for the future. It was a conclusion of step one experience. It was a conclusion of powerlessness, just like Bill Wilson. I was defeated, quicksand stretched all around me, a great metaphor. The more I dig, the more I try, the harder I try, the more I fall in. There's nothing you can do about this. Nothing. On your own power. Zero. All your efforts will fail. So I successfully failed at trying to control and manage my drinking. And life. And life. And from that place came an opening. It was like a manipulated pause. I felt like time stopped. I was completely shifted, like something did for me what I couldn't do for myself. It was incredibly humbling. I was very vulnerable. Thoughts stopped. I remember blankness in the mind. I remember that nothing mattered. Nothing mattered. My sister came to get me. I walked out of my New York City apartment, and I never looked back. It didn't matter where I was going, how long I was going to be there, what state I was going to be in. None of that mattered. Nothing mattered. There was this underlying understanding that you see, like for me, my experience on September 14, 2006 under the influence was a step 1, 2, and 3 experience. Because I gave my will and my life over to my sister that night. It just didn't matter. My will was so weakened. It was so broken. It was just like, it was not there anymore. It felt like it wasn't there anymore, right? And, my second solution to this, I'm in a lot of trouble and there's nothing I can do about it and I'm dying. And the drink is just around the corner, and my greatest intent not to drink, and my greatest desire and wish not to drink, and all the consequences I experienced that make me want to not drink and disappoint the people in my life and lose things is of no avail. And the book talks about it. The book talks masterly about this. And so my second solution to this recognition that I'm cornered and defeated, and alcohol was my master, and I was a shivering denizen of King Alcohol, right? And I couldn't rely on my mind. was to lock myself up. I mean, this is the best I do. I'm like, kill yourself, stay locked in. You know, this is my solution. These are my solutions to a real step one experience, because I can't live in the realm of the possibility that something else is available and possible in Alcoholics Anonymous, which is pregnant with that. It's pregnant with possibility, right? But the byproduct of a step one experience was this willingness that I didn't really understand, and this like humility and this like clarity that anything that's in front of me, my life depends on it. My life depended on it. You know, I was scared of alcohol. I was not nonchalant about alcohol. I remember meeting my sponsor, and she qualified me, and I had, now she was giving words, and the big book was giving words to what I'm suffering from, and I grieved for a year. This was for good and for all. I have lost my legs. I can never grow new ones. It's irreversible. Like, there's absolutely no way that at any time in the future, maybe I can pick up anything. I have not drank NyQuil in 18 years. I have not had mouthwash with alcohol in it in any form at all. I will not ingest booze because I've had so much pain. I will not play with that fire. Alcohol is my master. My greatest intention is not sufficient. My greatest desire is not sufficient. All the consequences in my life were not sufficient. This is what they want to drive home over and over again. You can't do anything about it. An experience of you can't do anything about it should make you pretty humble. It should be like, oh my God, I'm in trouble. But we're like, hey, I'm Nikoleta, I'm an alcoholic. What's up? Yeah, you know. Oh, should I go to the meeting? I don't know. Really? I'm dying? I should get a sponsor? Oh. Come on. You're in so much trouble. You're in so much, and that's the mental obsession still on you. That's the self that's not seeing the true from the false. If you're like me, you're fucked. I'm screwed. At least I said it in a Serbian accent. This is step one with a Serbian flavor. You know, okay, finally, God, you're warming up the crowd and me. You know. And this is a girl that wrote a thesis that proving that there's no God. Yeah. Guys, it's more important the experience. I was surrendered. I was deflated and defeated. I was cornered. And when in that place, looking back now, when in that place, something else reveals itself. But not until I get there. And what does that require? And step one, it talks about it in the book over and over, rigorous honesty. I need to concede to my innermost self. This is an experience in the body, in the totality of the being. This is not an intellectual experience. This is not compliance. This is not agreeing with a therapist and with family. And, you know, because somebody, what am I saying when I say I'm an alcoholic? I need to get with that. I need to experience that sentence. Why am I calling myself that? What does that mean? Not what I would like it to mean, a membership in Alcoholics Anonymous, so that I can have some fellowship around me and stuff like that. What is it that I'm suffering from? And what is the solution to that? And this is where my journey begins. And because of that step one experience, I had a tremendous, powerful, deep and profound experience of step one, which gave me willingness to do things I didn't agree with or like, which made me lock myself up in a treatment center for 4 months, afraid to leave, because I knew the drink was around the corner, even though the mental obsession was removed, which made me even more confused that the mental obsession was removed, because the experience I was having for years did not match the experience I was having in treatment. You know, you guys spoke Japanese. I didn't understand what you were talking about, but I felt carried. I felt carried. I don't know how to explain that. I felt like there was like an okayness deep inside of me, but the mind was like, you know, like I remember my sponsor said when she first met me, she saw deer in headlights, scared, petrified, and despair in my look. And when she gave the words to what I'm suffering from, which I kind of sensed in the depth of my being, I grieved. I grieved. I went to 2-3 meetings a day. because I knew I was safe there, because I didn't know that the moment I walk out, and and I'm a product of really good sponsorship, because she saw that I was dying, and she said, we're going to go through the work, the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and have an experience with these steps. I just want you to be willing to step into the unknown, and you're going to start consulting stillness as a way to get information from some other place of your being, that innermost being. She was bringing me to the innermost being immediately. She was like, don't go to the mind. Right? Question everything that goes through your mind about what you're seeing and what you think can and cannot happen, and what this stuff means, and if you can do it, and what's God, and prayer. And there was a willingness that wasn't born of me. There was a willing. I'm not willing. I'm not humble. Self doesn't operate like that. And think about it, all I have is self-will and self-knowledge. When I came into the rooms, that's all I had. And you were like both of those. And I was like, do nothing, Something opens up when we see that it's a failed system. Something else takes over, and not to forget that there was a Alcoholics Anonymous, and you guys were sober, and some of you were happy, some of you were freaking bizarre, and I didn't understand what you were talking about, and you were kind of a little bit too honest, and because I was still in that mode of old ideas, pretend, show up a certain way, what do they think about me? I think I still have that, but there was, my heart was receiving a message. A message was being transmitted in my innermost being that didn't make sense to the mind. And in the ripeness of that bottom, in the deflation of the personal self, I was willing to go do this work that we're going to talk about here today. That's transformational. It's not about information. I work in a sober house. A girl I know that has an incredible sponsor that's been taking you through the book and through the work, and especially the first couple of steps, 3 steps in the last 2 months, was so drunk last night in a sober house. I get that. The sober house can keep you sober. Your sponsor can keep you sober. All the consequences can keep you sober. If you're a real deal like me, to recognize that and realize that, and hopefully be in a position where I don't want to do this, because towards the end of my drinking, I didn't want to drink. I just wanted to clean up my act for a little bit. I really did. And to drink when I don't want to drink, or I have a lot to lose if I do one more time, have this experience, it's kind of baffling, right? And this is why we talk about the insanity that precedes the first drink. If I never put booze in my body, I'm good. But I have a mind that constantly and consistently brings me back, gives me permission, convinces me that I can take it, that I need to take it, that I want to take it, that I should take it. Why? It's all driven by this spiritual malady. They talk dis-ease. I'm not at ease. I don't feel connected. I don't feel purpose and meaning. I'm not comfortable in my own skin. I can't stay in the present moment. I'm not okay. There's an anxiety that's constantly present. A lot of chatter, a lot of mental noise, and it wants to be medicated. I was trying for years, guys, to escape myself. I drank to escape. To numb, to get away from me. How can I get away from me? Tell me. You can go to a million places. You can't get away from you. So funny. Yeah? And that's really where the willingness was born. And it was very humbling. And I grieved an understanding of alcoholism and what I suffered from. And that just naturally put me in a position of being scared to take a train to New York City, and locking myself up in a sober house and going to a ton of meetings and staying close, and calling my sponsor from a payphone even though I didn't want to, and having a mind that was like, what should I tell her? How do I do this? Well, and then something incredible would happen, and all of these things showed me that my mind is not in tune with reality. Because he would say one thing but I would have an experience of something totally different. And these were little nuggets that were being planted in early recovery, you know. And then you'll hear from the other speakers the transformational value of what's possible and available as we have this soul surgery, you know. Really, that's what the Oxford group called the 6 tenets, soul surgery. And I like that because I'm so disconnected from my innermost being, right? So thanks for letting me share.